All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live again for another presentation tonight, guys. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ken Lawrence, and welcome to Conversations with Ken Lawrence. Tonight, we have a very, very special guest for you all. So, if you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and tag a friend. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like for the YouTube algorithm. Go ahead and comment your city and state in the comment section. Tonight, I am not going to hold you all at all. I want to get right into the conversation with our guest tonight. So let's get this thing started. All right, as you guys can see from the thumbnail, tonight I have the privilege of speaking with Mr. Kelvin Jones, the director. Let me say that again. Let me say that again. The director of the Tiger Band at Louisiana State University. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him up. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? Doing well.
Look, I had to make sure I put some respect on your name because I know in us prepping for this event, man, I kept getting that title wrong.
It's all good. It's all good. I honestly could care less. Just for any feds out there looking, it's like, yeah, get that right. But it's a dude, man.
So look, before we even get started, man, I know it's Alabama week for you guys, and I know that you all have a busy schedule. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for just taking the time out to sit and have a conversation with me, man. I'm very intrigued by you and your story and your journey, and I just wanted to bring that to our viewers tonight. So, for those of people who don't know you, man, just give us a brief introduction of who you are.
Sure. Well, happy to be here and really thank my wife because she's the one who was like, I'll give you some time while we have our newborn, well, 3 month old. So she's the real trooper and the real MVP in all of this. But my name's Kelvin Jones. I was born in the big city of Greenville, Mississippi. So anybody that's been there knows it's not big at all. But I'm a Delta born guy. My mother's an educator. My father is now a retired Marine, but I lived my life kind of that Marine military brat lifestyle. So we lived in California, Texas, North Carolina, Japan for a short bit. Lived in Baton Rouge, the longest portion. So I consider myself a Louisiana native. Graduated high school in Hawaii, and then did my undergraduate work at the Jackson State University, located in Jackson, Mississippi. Got my graduate work from LSU. I taught high school at a rural area, was assistant director in Hollandale, Mississippi for a while before I had my own program at West Feliciana High School in St. Francisville, Louisiana. And after that, came back for my doctorate at LSU, then was hired on staff and then kind of worked my way up, if you will, until where I currently am the director of the Golden Band from Tigerland.
Sweet, man. I didn't know that, man. So you're a Delta guy.
Yeah, I was born. I lived there for 7 years before we did our kind of world tour.
That's funny, man. Just goes to show you how small the world is. I actually had a couple good friends that were from Greenville. One that went to TL Weston. I had one
Yeah.
that went to Greenville High. And before I transferred to Southern, my scholarship was actually at Mississippi Valley State University.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah,
What
so
was your
I'm
scholarship in?
huh?
What was your scholarship in? Just like an academic scholarship?
I had academic and athletic. I did ran track.
Oh, cool. That's what's up.
Yeah. So I had academic and athletic, man. Ironically, they started recruiting me very, very early. And my mom was one of those parents like, look, we're not gonna mess this up because I can't pay for school. So the first school that started recruiting you, that's where you're going. So my first day on campus was actually my first day ever seeing the university.
Wow.
And nobody told me that they had mosquitoes up there so big
Oh
that
yeah,
you could see them
they
on the
bite through
side of a
your jeans.
bus.
Oh yeah, they'll bite you through your jeans for real.
But
Yeah.
see, but I funny story. My first night there, the freshmen get there a little bit early. So my
Mhm.
first night there, man, this was like 1997. I wanted to be fly. I was out there on campus had on me a pair of green duck head shorts, had on me a nice duck head polo, multicolored,
It back
had
with
on
Duckhead now. Wow.
had on the Eastlands with the strap that goes
Not
across
the
the front,
Eastlands. Man, you balling, dog.
and went out there, and the mosquitoes let me know who ran the show. The mosquitoes told my tail up out there trying to look cute.
Oh yeah. All facts.
So I see you're very well traveled, man. Like so you say well, military brat, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So of all the places, man, how did you end up back at Jackson State University?
So it's so funny you say that because you just talked about Valley. When I was 5 years old, my mom went to she graduated from Valley with her bachelor's.
Okay.
We were there for a Jackson State Valley game, and I was 5. And I just remember this band marched in playing "Get Ready," but it was cool. But you saw most bands like that, they entertain like that. But the part that stood out to me was they got in the stands and they played classical music. I didn't know what it was at the time, but they played classical music from memory. And at that moment, I was like, I'm gonna be in the band. Now I've come since to learn that was Stars and Stripes Forever by John Philip Sousa. But the fact that a band could come in to Get Ready, they play the show and entertain like most HBCU bands do, but they played classical music from memory. And for whatever reason, that just stuck out to me. And I was like, I'm gonna be in the boom. And so throughout my life, even when I was in Hawaii writing English papers, and my grandmother still have this to this day, it was about like rhyme schemes. And I ended the paper with, when I die on my tomb, you will see the sonic boom and all this stuff. So it started when I heard the band when I was 5 playing Valley in Itabena, but we call it Itty Bitty, Mississippi. And they marched in playing Get Ready, and they played classical music. And from then on, I was going to be in the band. So my senior year, my grandfather was a band director. He taught at Simmons High School and O'Bannon, which is in Hollandale and in Greenville, Mississippi. And so things kind of worked out. I had kind of a connecting point to where I got a full ride scholarship to go there from from Hawaii. So, but it all started with an experience when I was 5 years old.
Yeah, when I was in school, we had I was in the band too in high school, and our in Wilkes County, yeah, we our band director was a Southern grad. Well, we had two band directors. One was a Southern grad, one was actually a Jackson State grad. So we kind of took a little bit of our identity from both schools, and then also being right there close to Alcorn. So we kind of were like I'd say a hybrid band where we did a little bit of everything at.
Nice.
But growing up, I definitely, I guess it's okay to say this since the game is past now. But growing up, I was definitely a Jackson State band fan. That sticks with me too. They would play the classic
Be one now. It's okay to be one now. We're recording this. You know what I mean? We can share it. We can share it to the world. It's okay. You live in your truth, Ken. This is conversation. Everybody, he's being vulnerable right now. He's okay with saying the boom is the best. It's all good. It's all love.
The thing about me that separates me from most band heads is that I don't objectify the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell anybody that, in my opinion, there are only 2 bands in the SWAC. That's just my opinion. I don't need to say which 2, but I only think there's 2. And now that I got some good friends at Texas Southern, it's 2.5 right now. So,
well, most of them from Southern or Jackson State, for that matter, anyway.
Exactly. But you're right. I do remember that they would play a lot of classical music to warm up before the national anthem and things. And that caught my eye too, because back then, especially with Southern, you didn't really hear a lot of woodwinds. Mm-hmm. So to actually hear a marching band that we knew could blast, that we knew could jam, to actually show that they could put their woodwinds on display too, it was something that stuck with me as well. So it's ironic that you mentioned that.
Yeah, and for me, it's just I think back on that experience, but it's like I'm 5. Like I don't know what about that now. Granted, looking where I am now, like I do this for a living. I'm a musician, but just as a 5-year-old, that's what stuck out. And I remember that like I could draw a picture of how that day was. It just something that stuck with me as a 5-year-old. Classical music, just it resonated to my spirit.
That stuck with me. What years were you at Jackson State?
03 to 07, 2003 to 7.
Yeah, he was still there then. I'm gonna tell you another thing that stuck with me too. And even to this day, I can still hear him in my head. And I will go on record. We can debate the band thing back and forth, but I will go on record saying that he was the best band introduction guy on the mic ever.
Oh, Jimmy
Listen,
James.
Jimmy was awesome, man. Jimmy
Yeah,
was awesome, man.
yeah, that was my department chair when I was there.
And see, I just like people who have a mastery of the English language anyway. And he, man, just imagine being a high school kid hearing this guy just come out there and slaughter it, man. He would use words that I had never heard before.
Yeah, he was consistent. Dr. James was a beast.
So how was he? Like I said, I never got opportunity to meet him. Just hearing him on the mic. He's electric. But as a person, man, how was he as a person?
Yeah, I didn't have too many personal interactions with him. Like he would hire a few of us for his church that he would attend during Christmas time and Easter. So that's when I talked to him outside of an official capacity. But he was always a nice guy. I've heard stories of, if you don't really know him that well, then you're doing what you got to do. It's when you're not doing what you got to do, you would know him personally. So hopefully I was on that side. I knew him just as a professor and somebody we always respected and department chair. But outside of that, it was cool. But I think I would like to think I was doing what I was supposed to do. So I never got into any trouble to where I had to talk to him more so than when I needed to.
Yeah, the band had to represent because with his introduction, man, he definitely set the standard, bro. It was
A lot of bands.
I still think to this day, man, that nobody has ever done it better. Nobody has done it better. And the guy that came behind him had an impossible job.
Yeah, I could be biased, but I don't think you're wrong on that. Jimmy
Yeah,
James is like the GOAT.
he had an impossible job, man. So, even furthering our connection, man, talk to me about this West Feliciana connection, man. Because, like I say, we joked about it when we started. I am from Woodville, for those of my people who are actually watching. But how did you end up in San Francisco at West Feliciana?
I finished my master's at LSU, and I was looking for a job, and I went to a career fair. Forgot the location, but they set up an interview there at the time with the principal. So when I interviewed the principal and the superintendent, in that meeting, it was the superintendent, the principal, the vice principal, and maybe like somebody else from the school board. But it was one of those. It was like, man, the superintendent is in this interview for the band director. Like they are serious about it. And the superintendent's name was Lloyd Lindsay. He unfortunately passed a couple months after I got hired on. But he was a retired Marine, and my dad was a Marine, so it was like a connecting point there. But it was just something that the vision they had and what they wanted to do, it just felt like it would have been a perfect marriage. Like I knew they were serious about the band program. And that being my first gig solo, like, as a head director, if you will. I just feel like I had a good support system there. And I learned a lot along the way. We started off with 13 kids, and I remember our first game, we played the national anthem, and I'm like, trumpets missed the entrance, trombones are late, like, oh my gosh. And then this principal came up to me and was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is the first time, we've heard the band play from beginning to end like that. So it made me realize, like, okay, I'm in it to win it. So, we did great things there, and we performed like at the the Liberty Bowl. We performed at the President Obama's second inauguration. So, we did some great things while we were there. Left the program pretty healthy. We made all ones at district and state level. All the things that a band would do, we did while we were there. Thanks to some hardworking students and a great parental support and with administration. So, no, I love my time at West Feliciana in big city of St. Francisville.
Yeah, even to this day, man, everything they do up there, they pretty much do it, with excellence in mind. That's the one thing I love about that school district. If you look academically, they're somewhere between first and third every year academically. When it comes to athletics, they handle their business. So to me, man, it's a model district from top to bottom. I know everybody has their situations behind the scenes that may happen, but as far as what they're producing with the kids and things like that, man, it's top notch.
Yeah, no, I love my time there.
Oh yeah. So we'll fast forward now. What year did you start at LSU? As a director, as a member of the staff?
Yeah, so I was a graduate assistant in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, that was right after the inauguration. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and then I got hired on as an assistant director 2016, and then director of Tiger Band either 18 or 19, one of those 2 years.
So how does that work? Like I said, I know we were having some difficulty with me getting the title correct. So there is a director of the
Yeah,
band, the actual marching band. I'm sure there's probably like a symphony director or
yeah. So it is kind of unique here at LSU. So we have a department of bands.
Mhm.
So above the Department of Bands is the School of Music. So that encompasses orchestra, jazz, choirs, music ed, music history, theory, all of that. Within that, we're Department of Bands. And then above the School of Music is the College of Music and Dramatic Arts, which includes not only School of Music, but our School of Theater as well. So within the Department of Bands, we have a director of bands who oversees the department, conducts the top concert group. We have an associate director of bands, and then we have like an assistant director of band slash director of Tiger Band, which is what I am. And then another person, assistant director of bands, director of Bengal Brass, and director of operations currently. It's a mouthful, I know, but they handle a lot of the logistics that go on with the band, along with running our pet bands, which plays at volleyball, basketball, men's, women's basketball, and gymnastics events. They also assist with the marching band, and then the associate director also assists with the marching band, athletic bands as well. But I oversee the athletic bands, if you will, with that. So it's kind of
nice.
triage, if you will, there.
Nice. So for people who think that this is just a football season type thing, where you just it automatically falls together, man. I don't think a lot of people understand just how much band directors, whether it be on the high school or collegiate level, actually have to put their hands into a lot of stuff. It's a craft that I think is underappreciated, and it really breaks my heart now to see that so many elementary, middle, and high schools are cutting back on budgets when it comes to the arts and things like that. Because I know for me personally, it's a lot of places that I never would have saw had I not been a member of my high school marching band. I would have been in Woodville consistently. That probably would have been the only place that I would have saw had it not been for my marching band. So I really hope that these school districts can figure out a way to start putting funding back into these music programs, because for a lot of kids, you have to give them a reason to want to come to school. And for some kids, it's not gonna be athletic. Some kids may be musically inclined, and this band could be the reason why they come to school. And hey, they get an education while they're there. So we got to start putting some money into these music programs to get these kids back on track and give them an incentive to want to come to school.
Totally retweet. Yeah, it's a given fact, and I share those same sentiments. So, the first time I've ever flown out of the country, growing up, I never really had aspirations outside of that little stint in Hawaii. I mean, not Hawaii, but Okinawa, Japan. That was slightly different. But from through music, I've been to Dublin, Ireland. I taught for a month in Chile, the country, through music. I've been to the Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Mexico, and throughout this country, just music. And it's just so many avenues that have indoors that have opened. I marched in the Rose Bowl parade when I was in high school,
Yeah.
being an all-stater in Hawaii, and they took the top students and did a parade there. Just through music. And so, and I'm not gonna say I was super athletic, but I was okay back in my younger days. But it was music that kind of open up these opportunities, and even to where now, where my program or the marching band at LSU, we're 325 members, and there are so many opportunities that they are allotted to that they were not aware of or hadn't been exposed to just through music.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things. I personally feel like experience is the best indicator in life. Like I could tell, I have a 7-year-old son, and I could tell my son, don't touch that stove, don't touch that stove, until he puts his hand on that stove and then
Right.
feels how hot it is.
Right.
He guaranteed won't touch that stove again unless there has to be something reason to do it. So it's that experiential learning that you get a chance to expose to. Like for me, spending a month in Chile and they don't speak English, and at this time I'm like almost through my doctorate program, so I'm fairly educated. but I can't communicate because I don't know Spanish. So it's like the game of charades. And for me, it just brings it to my mind, what about those students with learning disabilities back at home in the
Yeah.
States? Or that student that may be an immigrant and English is their second language. And because they don't understand maybe a sentence, I may say, do you understand the words I'm saying? If they
Yeah.
can't comprehend that, it doesn't matter what you're saying, because I felt that people are saying Spanish stuff slower. And I'm like, you can write it down. I
It
still
don't
ain't
matter. Yeah.
right, so those things shaped how I am as a person and gave me those experiences that I think made me a better teacher, because I can approach things from a place of empathy and compassion. Whereas before it was very textbook driven. You learn these things, so you do these things, so you can understand people more. So all that to say, music has totally changed my life and changed a lot of my students' lives, because there have been experiences through music that have just totally changed their perspective of how they view things.
So since you say you traveled internationally, basically as an ambassador for music, man, do you think that people from other countries have a greater appreciation for the classical type music than we do here in America?
Oh, good question. I don't know. Because within certain countries, it's very, they take what they do very seriously. And so whether that's djembe, or when I was in Chile, folk music and things like that, and people may realize like you may not take this serious, but this is a source of pride for us.
Yeah.
And so that's been more so my takeaway of an appreciation for what other cultures do, because a lot of times, especially in the European side of things, there's a certain way we view music, and then people like to place categories of good music versus bad music. And if you don't fall into this certain canon or pendulum, if you will, then it's bad. Whereas certain people may do music that doesn't fit that, that doesn't make it bad. So it's
Yeah.
more so having an appreciation for different types of music. So I haven't seen necessarily an appreciation for, like, maybe more so in Europe, where classical music was, developed and cultivated to where it's really considered really, really high art. I find the challenges here in the States sometimes is people look at classical music as this and everything else is bad. When how can we find the good in these other things? And I'm not saying all music is good. Like, I have my own biases and my own opinions about music, but that doesn't necessarily doesn't mean because I don't like something that it is terrible and there
Right.
isn't value there.
Yeah, but I think there's a place for all types of music. You know, rap music. I think about like the talent that those guys have to be able to do that type of stuff. But I listen to a lot of country music, and some of the words. If you just take the beat away and listen to some of the words of some of those country songs, I mean,
Poetry.
it absolutely blow you. Yeah, exactly. It absolutely blow you away. So yeah, I think there is a place for all types of music here. I wish that we could, the people who I'm around, I'll put it that way. I won't stereotype everybody. They had a greater appreciation for, the classicals, the orchestra, and things like that. Symphony, that type of music, where you actually get an opportunity to hear the instruments and you get to see the musicianship and what these guys are trying to put together. That's just me. I'm a geek for it myself. I love the marching band thing, but I just think that the musician comes out when you let the instrument do what it's supposed to do too, and you got a great person behind it that's just pushing it out there.
Yeah, no director of any quality, or no director that has significant quality. I don't want to say like of any quality, but will dispute that. They want students who are well-rounded musicians. Like the director, I'm just naming HBCUs here. The director is at Southern, is a good friend of mine, Kendrick Taylor. He would tell you he want the top. When they recruit the top musician. At Jackson State, Roderick Little, they want the best musician. If you come in there just playing the latest rap song, you probably won't make it into their band program. Which I know some people have that perception of that. Hey, even when I audition some students, they come in, they're playing neck and some pop tune, like that just won't cut it here. Like, they want that student that's going to participate at the highest level, that are seriously driven in classical realms and backgrounds. That's what they want. Or let me rephrase that. Those are the schools those students are the ones that's gonna get a lot of money scholarship wise. Like, you may make the band if you don't have that as your background, which is fine. But those students who take that seriously, those are the ones that's gonna leave school likely debt free, like me.
I think about what was a drum line? The dude used to play by sound. He
Hmm.
couldn't read music at all. He just played by sound, and he had an amazing memory. I mean, could bring it back just exactly the way it was. But if you put that sheet of music in front of him, he was in trouble.
Yeah.
So this your first year leading the band?
This year
Yeah.
or no? I've been like I said, it's either I just say 2019, 2018, 2019 was my first year leading LSU
Okay. So
band program.
what's been the highlight, man? Because I mean, you think about it, and in band roots, I think they take it for granted, man. But this is a very highly visible band nationwide. I can only probably name 3 or 4 bands, non HBCU bands that I actually will watch. You know, Everybody say Ohio State band is great. They subjective. I like USC's band. I think they get funky with it. But you guys, man, highly visible. You guys can basically do any type of music. So of everything that you've done so far, what's the highlight of it?
Highlight of what we've done or what I've experienced? I don't know.
Of what you've
I don't know if I
experienced
have.
as the head guy.
Well, I think obviously the easy answer is a national championship, 2019 with Joe
Nice.
Burrow, and
Nice.
that was just a magical year. Like it's one of those things when you, and I think anybody can relate to this. When you like or organizer or you lead something, it's hard to take the time and quote unquote smell the roses because it's always what's the next thing? What's the next thing? All
Right.
right, we finish this here. Like, how do we organize this and that? And how do we get back? It's all those logistics. 'Cause like I said, you're talking about over 325 members. So looking back on that year, especially, was just like dope. And like there are a whole lot of historical significance behind it. Because matter of fact, that was my first year, so 2019, and where with that year,
What a first year.
yeah, the first African American to lead a SEC marching band in history, and first
Congratulations.
LSU, the first African American director to lead a program in a national championship, and all these things. Like looking back on it, like all right, that was cool. It's not, you don't go into doing what you do because of that. Those things just come. But that was a magical year, and the experiences that we had with that and opportunities, it was don't take down for granted at all.
I can just imagine the adrenaline rush of being in Tiger Stadium, over 100,000 people cheering. I'm sure you can feel it. You can feel it, and knowing that you still have to stay focused and realize that, hey, even though this is a great moment, I still got a job to do. So let me kind of gather myself a little bit and get back into the mode of being the director.
Yeah. Yeah, but there are times when you need to be a fan. Like I love sports,
Mhm.
and like I said, I consider myself a Louisiana guy. I live here the longest, so like I knew LSU back in the Jerry Donardo days, which is before Nick Saban was a coach.
Right.
So like I know the players, I know the lineage, I know the modern history, if you will, of the program. So you as you're there, you're a fan, so it's okay. At least for me, at least, like when things happen, like I'm one of the people in the crowd. I have to worry about people going on too, but I get excited just like everybody else.
I'm sure. And man, this year you guys had a football game against Southern, man, that I think was probably I've been here for about 15 years, and I don't think I've ever seen the community as united as it was for that one event. That the hype for it was absolutely phenomenal. So, man, just how was it, man? Did you get goosebumps knowing that you were going to be able to fall back into that HBCU battle mode again, and you're going to have the jukebox across from you?
Not at all. Like I guess Kelvin is different from Dr. Jones. Like, Kelvin at his core, Jackson State and all of that.
Right.
But on the flip side, like I said, the director at Southern, Kedrick Taylor, not even just him, Sid Todd, their whole staff, like those are like my guys. So
Right.
there is no rivalry, at least for me in that regard. Like for me, it's an opportunity. How can we showcase two great programs in the same city? Because if at the end of the day, what we do is totally different from what Southern does. You know what I mean? Like it'll be different if you're trying to compare a Southern to a Jackson State or a Grambling. Like that's a different kind of thing. But this is literally apples and oranges. But within those apples and oranges, we're both fruit. And
Sure.
so how can we take something that for whatever throughout history has either systemically been segregated or separated or whatever. Here's an opportunity where you have a person at an LSU that has an HBCU background that already has relationships with people from Southern, from across the street. How can we make those things and do this versus doing this? Because there are so many things and entities in society that wants to keep that separate.
Yeah.
And I've taught students from all levels, as we just talked about earlier. I have students who are in Southern's band right, well, former students who are in Southern's band right now. So it only makes sense. How can we do something like this? The sense of unity within our community, even for one day, that I think will live on for a long time. And people are still talking about that halftime show that
Yeah.
we put together. So that's what it was about. It wasn't anything about any competitiveness or battle or whatever. It's how can we highlight and showcase two iconic programs? Because the same vein, a lot of my students have never heard the Human Jukebox in person, and there are a lot of people in the Human Jukebox who've never heard the Golden Band from Tigerland in person. So when we rehearsed earlier that day, it was just magical seeing the trumpets get together, the drum line get together, the tubas get together, our dancers, dancing dolls, and the Golden Girls. Like that's what it's about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's those people may go out and work together. Somebody may be an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. And this bond through music, this experience through music has cultivated that. So that's what it was about. I could care less about any kind of battle or anything like that.
And I think that it was an amazing situation because it shows people that there are really a lot more things that unite us than divide us. Like we talked about earlier, we tend to focus on a lot of the negativity, but at our core, man, everybody really has the same goals. Everybody wants to do the same thing, and I think music is one of those situations where one of those things that actually brings us together. And the show was phenomenal. I mean, I have seen some images on Facebook of people who were actually brought to tears by it. Just thinking about, like you say, how much they try to bring it, make it a North versus South thing, and to see the two universities actually get together on the field, do a drill together, do a show together, and just be 1-2-2-5. I thought it was an amazing thing, and kudos to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was dope. That was dope. So next year you guys have Grambling.
We
Um,
do. We do.
I think that's cool too, though, because they're gonna be those games. So, I mean, why not keep that, keep that revenue in state, give the people from Southern, the people from Grambling, people from LSU the opportunity to see other in-state talent, maybe football or through music, and have a greater appreciation for what they do. Because I've seen also a lot of LSU fans who were like, they had heard about Southern's band, they knew they were good, but they had never got the opportunity to see them in person. And I know that within the HBCU bands, to see them in person, see them in that element, it can be a shock to a lot of people with just how good they are, how well they train, and things like that, and to see the diversity in what you can do in music.
Totally. Yeah, there's a showmanship element that I think HBCUs at its core do a very, very good job at. So no, it was great. That was one for the ages. Totally.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, hopefully, may it not be a football game or something. So hopefully, there can be another event where you guys can come together and do something like that. I know, years ago, the year that LSU won their first, it wasn't their first, but national championship, and Southern won an HBCU championship. They had an event that's similar downtown, and that was a great event as well. So I mean, we're 2 for 2 when we get together. So I just think it's something that we should figure out a way to do more. I'm not quite sure what that would look like, but every time we do, I think it has a galvanizing effect on the community.
Oh yeah, I'm all for it.
So man, what's next, man? What are you looking forward to most, as far as future endeavors, for Mr. Jones?
I don't know. Future endeavors, like keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully maintaining a high level within our program here. On the side, I do real estate investing. Have a little catering company with barbecue, Bones Jones Barbecue with brisket. So, I don't know.
Now
As my
you
wife said,
talking.
what's that?
Now you talking.
Oh, so I don't know. My wife says I'm probably too busy, too many irons in the fire, but just trying to do things to set up a legacy for my kids and my family. If anything, if anybody's listening to this and something that I say take away is try to figure out things that can have a lasting impact for your family. So, like I love my job, and the students know that I love them and I love what I do. But at any moment, somebody can just make a decision and be like, we don't want that freckle faced guy in front of our band no more. So, how do I still provide for my family and making sure that we're okay and viable and all that? I'm a God fearing guy, so try to stay prayed up and faith driven, but trying to make sure I do things to set up whenever I get done with this chapter or phase of my life. Not saying it's anytime soon, that's in God's hands, but how to make sure my family's still taken care of on that back end side of there.
Let me tell you something. If you can barbecue in Louisiana, you'll never go a day where weren't trying to figure out where your next paycheck coming from.
Yeah, we get down a little bit.
Well, man, look, I'm not gonna hold you. We've been on for about 35 minutes, man. Look, I appreciate you taking time off to come and have a word with us, man. Um, great story, great story. I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. I
Appreciate it.
understand
Much
everything that you've had to do to get to this point. And then to just have such a level of excellence basically at every stop, man, it is to be commended.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for the opportunity. To kind of just sit here and just chat.
Oh yeah, I mean, and like I said, like I told you earlier, I think that we need to have more of this. We can talk about controversial topics, we can talk about culture, we can talk about politics, and we can disagree about all of that. But at the end of the day, I just think it's time for us to actually sit down and just start having conversations with people, putting those people who do great things in the spotlight and giving them their flowers while they're here, and just trying to start to mentor and give our kids something different to look at.
Hmm.
Something different than just athletics and hip hop and gangsters, this and movies that, that you can actually find something that you're actually passionate about, make a great living at it, and then just have a life of pure bliss, man, as long as you keep God first.
Totally. Something my uncle told me when I was in 10th grade. It was like, wake up, find something you can wake up every day excited to do. Don't worry about the pay. Just if you're excited to do it, wake up, and pursue that. And the very next day I woke up and I was like, you know what? I love people and I love music. And the people part was first. And I was like, I'm gonna be a band director. And so my grandfather, who was a band director, tried to talk me out of it. Even as I was going through college, don't do it. And the reason being was you have to work extremely hard to be successful. It's not one of those things you can kind of halfway do and find success. And if you don't work really hard, you won't be successful. And he understood that because of the sacrifices he had to make for his family to drive a success. But that's something I wake up, I'm excited. Like I get to work with people and we get to shape music and shape phrases. And then through that, we can develop leaders and we can develop culture and we can develop people through music. And that's something that, like, my wife is a nurse practitioner. She's phenomenal at what she does, but she can't experiment at her job. Like if she does, people may lose their lives.
Right.
Whereas I could maybe tubas play a little louder here, trumpets crescendo here, tweak these phrases. Like I can experiment with this tapestry of art and it's so freaking dope and awesome. Or we can do something like you mentioned the halftime show with Southern, to where we do this music and there's this visual component on the field, and people have a visceral reaction where they're crying, and then what I mean, like that's so awesome to me, to where we can impact what's going on. We can impact the emotional state, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I get excited about. That's why I love what I do. I get to work with students who are amazingly smart and hardworking. So all to say, find something you wake up every day excited about. Like I'm not the highest paid person in the world, nor was I when I was teaching high school. But I'm okay, and I don't have to eat oodles and noodles every day. But I find fulfillment in what I do, and that's the goal.
And that matters, man. I remember my high school counselor, she was saying, when you pick a career, she said, think about something that you would do every day for the rest of your life if you didn't get paid for it and all your bills were paid. If you just did it strictly for the love of it, you didn't worry about any type of financial obligations, would you wake up every day and do what you do? And that way, you can live a fulfilling life without, getting up every day stressed out about going to work, not liking people that you work with and things like that. So I get it, man. I get
Yes.
it. So yeah, man. But look, appreciate you for jumping on, man. If there's anything I can do, to help you accomplish any of the goals that you have, man, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm gonna actually shoot you my number after this thing's over with, man. Would love to take you out one day,
All
grab
right.
some barbecue. I'm sure you're a great connoisseur of barbecue since you say you're hailing that grill.
Yeah, I get kind of snooty about a few things. Barbecue and bourbon are both of them, but you know, I ain't gonna turn down any good food though.
For sure, man. So look, appreciate it. Hey guys, appreciate you all for joining. Like I say, if you watching this on the replay, just put hashtag replay in the comment section. Um, I'm getting better, guys. I know y'all got on me about not being consistent with doing this every week. Life happens, but I have been making a consistent effort to do it at least once a week. I'm trying to find some people who actually bring value to the platform versus just having people who we can just talk to about anything. So this gentleman right here, man, so blessed to have had him on the call tonight. Hopefully you guys found value in this conversation. So we'll do this thing again next week if the Lord says the same. So once again, appreciate everybody for checking us out. And until next time, peace.